looking for that elusive first win in the Challenger Series or in League of Legends in general, in all honesty. Misfits here on the blue side, do you think we're just going to see normal bans coming out from them?
I think so at this point. I like they're taking away the Rise because we've seen Blanc play it. That was in PSG's game against Schalke. He had a good setup. Ooh, that's different. Red side Shen.
It's not that uncommon.
It's not, but at the same time, the Rengar, the Camille, the LeBlanc, I wonder whether PSG are going to go completely away from that and basically try and take two. Here you go, Misfits already reacting, saying, well, we weren't going to first pick LeBlanc, we're not going to give it over to you instead.
And so now PSG might just look for that Rengar and Camille ban as well. It's actually going to be Varus here from PSG, so even though Hylo was probably one of their standout performers last game with that Varus doing a lot of damage from a long range.
So theoretically, you have to ban Camille here from Misfits Academy, otherwise you end up losing it, which means PSG would then ban Rengar if you were going through the motions on this.
I think the thing is, though, there's a possibility that PSG value banning the Camille over banning the Rengar, so you could have first picked the Rengar.
But it just depends on what... if you're comfortable with both coming through, then it's okay. It's a fine trade. You just ban other things. At this point, though, PSG are going to pick up Jhin here. Rengar's going to go over. It's Jhin that'll likely get picked up by PSG.
You say that. The jungler's name is Pride Stalker. He was a one-trick Rengar for a long
this is what I mean. Is Rengar gets picked up?
Oh, Rengar gets picked up. PSG get the Jhin.
PSG get the Jhin.
Okay, that makes sense.
And you are right. There is the Rengar hover. I'm expecting it locked in.
Yeah, there we go. I thought you were saying Misfits would pick
up
the Jhin. But
I think
PSG here probably going to go towards that Jhin, and then Misfits will answer with their own AD carry on this rotation to make sure they're not locked out too far.
Most likely, and I wonder whether it'll be the Sivir for Yuki. So what goes alongside the Jhin? What do we got? What have we got? Shen's banned. Normally that's one of the rotations. Oh, Malzahar.
Yeah, that was banned last game by Misfits Academy, so they decide to go for that. Spassel, very good.
Pair it with Jhin?
Yeah. It works so well with Jhin because you've got the Deadly Flourish and the range of the Malefic Visions or the Voidlings chasing in.
Yeah, those Voidlings, of course.
Lethality, he is kind of on the fringes of the meta now.
Yeah, I've seen people playing it in solo queue. I don't know whether it's really going to come through as a competitive pick yet. You mentioned Caitlyn and Ezreal with the Lulu. Caitlyn Lulu's the old pushing lane. Yeah. Jungle priority came through on Misfits Academy's ban phase here. I mean, Kirei, he has the Rek'Sai or an Elise. if he wants it. I think Elise
really
would be
like
a little
the
bit more
Elise
active.
pick. Yeah, I think the Elise can do a lot of work, and we're seeing a lot of people practice it on this patch as well. Maokai is the lock, so strong top laner. We saw Kikis kicking off on it in week 2. Rumble does a lot of work. Yeah.
Rumble probably going to come out as the answer to it, unless you want the Nautilus as a tank versus tank matchup. We saw Jisoo play the Nautilus in the last game, had a good setup alongside Pride Stalker's Graves, taking out Pilot every time they could find him. Only was twice.
The Rumble does make a lot of sense with the Rengar as well, because you can jump in. It is going to be Ezreal for Yuki.
Okay.
Perhaps not as good as the Caitlyn, but I'm pretty sure I remember it being one of his comfort picks. So.
It is, but it's a pick that does not have a lot of lane presence. There's a lot of poke here, potentially, but up against Malzahar and Jhin, theoretically Ezreal Lulu shouldn't die. But there's so many ways for Malzahar Jhin to capitalize on one of you if you're out of position. So Misfits Academy got to be careful here. They picked almost a losing lane, in a sense.
But it doesn't mean that they're going to lose the lane as such. They can play it relatively safe, get pushed in, just be like, defensive. Nidalee is the hover. There was a Wukong hover before this, so I'm not treating that with too much respect as a hover. It might just be Kyrie going back on towards the Rek'Sai, Kirei.
Yeah. We saw Broxah playing the Nidalee for Fnatic this weekend. Actually was kind of okay, but really stalled out what Fnatic wanted to do. They were against Origin, so they kind of walked that victory through. Yeah. It is the Rek'Sai that comes out. I'm not so against it this time, because there's a Maokai alongside to try and get the setup. You've still got the Corki, you've got the Jhin. Malzahar can just flash on people and try and get the engage that way. So PSG have more options at converting an early game lead into a win.
Yeah, and I think that having a Jhin long-range engage really helps them out as well for that. Misfits Academy, on the other hand, comfort champion for Pride Stalker, you have to think, with the Rengar. Kozku going back towards the Syndra as well. Their bot lane is a little bit odd, and their whole composition to me doesn't, I'm going to be honest, doesn't make a huge amount of sense. They've got some strong laners in the Nautilus, who's okay. You've got the Syndra, who's okay as well, but what are they trying to do?
They're trying to just blow people up with Rengar, really, and then get Ezreal later into the game. It's difficult in that sense that, like, Ezreal's going to get shoved in, probably, unless Lulu can do enough to compensate for that early on. So we'll see PSG if they can have the same good early game.
Don't say it, Stress. Just don't say it. Just don't say it. Don't say it.
Maybe.
You're cursing them already.
Maybe PSG can pick up their first win.
Like, you feel for PSG, but Misfits Academy want to win, and they want their points. They're not going to be feeling for PSG. They want that victory screen at the end. They want the extra points. They want to be able to get through to the playoffs later on. And PSG, if you don't win the game, you don't deserve to win the game.
I mean, this realistically, a loss here for PSG puts them almost out of range.
Well, we are on to the Summoner's Rift. PSG fighting for their lives and fighting for their chance to get into those playoffs. Last chance saloon, you have to think. Misfits Academy, happy with the point they've got thus far, but I'm sure they'd be a lot happier with a couple more.
So there is still the outside chance, depending on the matchups, that PSG, if they lost here but won the next 2 matchups, could sneak into a 4th spot. If other people tie above them and lose, and you're relying on everybody else to stay around 4 and 5 points, and you get 6 points in the last 2 weeks, maybe.
Your fate's no longer in your own hands.
Exactly.
And that's when things really start getting difficult. Because we've seen 2-0s as well today. We've got a couple of teams sitting at that 6-point mark. Of course, Schalke sitting miles ahead at 9 for themselves. So they're pretty much guaranteed to be going through to the playoffs.
That's the thing, like Kinguin and
Millennium,
thank you. No, it was Millennium. They played Millennium today. With the tie, 1 apiece, is actually possibly the best thing that could have happened for both Misfits Academy and PSG.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you steal points from the teams around that are all playing for the same spot, that's when you start being able to make a late run through the standings.
That it is. Normal start here from PSG. Looks saplings down from Steve just to help Kobe with his clear on the Razor Beaks. Of course, you've got the Queen's Wrath as well, so AoE clear makes it pretty easy to just sneak out those Razors. PSG are setting up for an aggressive push here. If they can get some damage down onto Yuki and Dreams, but not going to be able to get too much. Dreams just use the shield, so it's pushing lane, of course, from the Jhin and the Malzahar, as you were saying. They'll hit level 2 first, and then Yuki and Dreams do need to be cautious. There is always a risk that Voidlings steal away CS.
There is. It's not too big of a risk. Pilot should be okay with that. So Dreams, obviously playing the Lulu into the Malzahar, should be good in that sense, but it's this Ezreal that kind of foregoes a lot of the presence. Yes, Ezreal does have good poke damage, does have good trading when you can land it, but it is difficult. You can see Dreams didn't get the auto down onto the Voidlings, so just allowing them to push through. About to hit level 2. There's the level 2 mark.
There's the other one. Not a huge person. Actually, Dreams going aggressive here with the Glitter Lance. Yuki's been landing some good Mystic Shocks, which makes it a lot harder for PSG to go full on at that level 2 mark. They've been harassed down a little bit. Had to start burning through those Total Biscuits.
Pride Stalker on Krugs. Very low. Won't be able to get out onto the map anytime soon. But honestly, this bot lane is going not too bad for Misfits at first, and then Dreams gets locked down. You can see through came a lot of the harass potential from the Voidlings. Misfits still trying to assume control down there. I really am intrigued by a lot of this Lulu presence in pick ban today. Every single team, I believe, had presence on it. Did Lulu feature in every game?
It's something we started to see last week with Northscaven and D-Lord playing it in all of their games. So,
but we didn't necessarily see it this week in LCS, is the interesting thing. We saw a couple of games, handful, but Challenger seems to be
groundbreaking. We're the expeditionaries of the patches. You wait, meta in a few months' time, Lulu every role. Just like top Lulu, mid Lulu, jungle Lulu.
So what you're saying is like when Lulu was released?
Yes. Yes, like
AP ratios through the roof. Ooh, Exhaust was used.
Onto Dreams. Gonna get a lot of damage with the Call of the Void. There's 6 Voidlings on the chase. They're scuttling in, but they can't quite get there.
Those little legs can't quite get him in range, and they get taken out. But there is a good trade. Heal and Exhaust used in exchange for PSG's Exhaust. And that's a recall out from Yuki and Dreams. Does he should have enough for tier?
He gets the tier, which makes this recall worth it as such. If you can push in the wave, maybe you can deny 1 or 2 CS, but you're not going to deny too much, really. Actually, it looks like PSG is going to keep it freezing and then not quite back yet. Oh, no, they're going to back.
No, they're not. They're thinking about it, not quite sure. They have reached the point where you can go back and buy that Serrated Dirk. That's why Jhin will recall now. Sprattle's just trying to get all the minions, or as many as he can, from Misfits Academy. But at this point, we're fairly slow on this game. No jungle presence early on, despite having a Rengar.
Oh, the power of the pre-6 Rengar game.
I know, right? Get that bowler strike.
Yeah. Try and land it, but Pride Stalker is just farming up to 6. Of course, the Battle Roar was nerfed slightly as well. It doesn't give you that CC immunity. Blank taking a little bit of poke from Coscu, but low on mana now. Coscu will just back away. It's just harass. It's nothing more than that, and the Corrupting Potion on Blank means that he can just sustain back up through it.
Pride Stalker must be kind of surprised he actually gets a Rengar. Like, he's probably resigned himself to never getting Rengar in a professional game. But Rengar being meta plus a champion of his is a nice little test. We get to see it in action.
We so rarely see Rengars as well because of how strong he is out of the jungle. But now that 7.3s comes around, starting to see it crop up here and there. Once again, a slow start from both the teams, but Misfits Academy have solidified themselves a 700 gold lead purely on CS.
Yeah.
Jungle 10 ahead, bot lane 10 ahead.
And that bot lane, considering it's an Ezreal matchup, this Lulu obviously into the Malzahar does fairly well. And Yuki got a decent recall off for Tia. Pilot is behind. It's not quite the same good early game we've seen out of PSG, but we haven't had a play set up. We haven't had anybody TPing in. Steve used his TP to get back to lane about a minute ago, whereas Jizu did not. So that is something to keep track of. Teleport advantage is in favor of Misfits.
I just want to come back to that bottom lane, though, because in picks and bans we were talking about it. We said Pilot's battle should push it in. They should have the CS advantage. Ezreal will struggle in the lane. Really not what's happened here.
Yeah, Lulu seems to have a little bit more of an advantageous situation here. I guess Malzahar is a lot more based around trading away from health, and Ezreal's difficult to kill. Jisoo has a 2v1 on his hands.
Knocks the depth charge in, but gets knocked up, tries to flash, can't get away. Steve with First Blood.
Steve First Blood, that flash didn't work because that the Maelstrom was enough to kill him. All that stored energy as it popped just took his health down, and Misfits Academy couldn't really react with anything. Pride Stalker was helping Cosq on the blue buff. That means they'll obviously have a read on where Rengar is, and Steve will know to recall out fairly soon.
Smart play by Kirei as well, though, because he went up to the lane where the teleport is. They know they don't have the teleport advantage anymore. They know they won't be able to join the fight if it happens somewhere else. So go up towards that lane, get the kill, and now Jisoo is actually going to walk back up to the lane. So there's still a small period where Steve is a teleport down, but PSG get First Blood, and they'll be happy enough with that.
Yeah, it translates into a Spectre's Cowl coming through as well. So here's the damage coming from the Malzahar. Dreams finally gets the kill on the first Voidling after it had already spawned the second.
The thing is there, you kind of have to wait for them to stop being able to spawn before you turn back around and kill them, because otherwise you're just going to have all of these Voidlings like the Zerg just running at your face.
It just keeps spawning on you.
Yeah. It's a dangerous game to play in that bottom lane. Pride Stalker has hit that elusive level 6, now level 7 of course, and will perhaps be looking for a gank. He's doing his second rotation of buffs. Probably get red and then maybe go down towards the bottom lane. Pilot seems like a pretty juicy target if you ask me.
Yeah, it's if you can get onto Pilot, because Spratl, they'll need to pop that passive from him first, of course, but that's fairly easy with the Lulu. Kairi, however, knowing there's no flash, wants to get in. But there was a ping down on that ward.
Yeah, it seems a little bit odd. They did ping it out. So I think they either assume it was there or maybe they were pinging, oh, come into this bush. Could be maybe not on the ward. It's always difficult to tell. They don't have the individual pings that sometimes we see, but we don't have a ward ping. Maybe we need one. There is a ward here. But yeah, PSG. The gold lead now is evened itself out a little bit with that First Blood. We see him coming back into the game, only 100 or so the difference, but still a 10 CS lead in that bottom lane. Steve started to get himself a little bit of a lead, and we're going to start to see whether PSG can actually start to gain the advantage that we tend to see out of them in the early game.
Is Yuki building a Hex Trinket this early on? Null Magic Mantle to try and deal with Spratl. Ah, no, okay, it could just be the beginnings of the QSS. Yeah. As I said it and saw the Malzahar, I'm like, ooh, that's where that's going. That's not a Hex Trinket. At least I hope it isn't.
It makes a lot of sense to have it, you know. There's always that debate of what point do you pick it up, because it doesn't give you any AD, it doesn't give you any attack speed.
We were talking about this with regards not on Ezreal, but Steelback's QSS first Varus. Yeah. And that while it doesn't get used for a long time, I don't think it's good as a first item ever, by the way, just before.
Okay.
But it's a deterrent, because suddenly you lose a target that you can use the Nethergrass on. Suddenly you cannot go super aggressive onto that champion anymore. Otherwise you end up wasting all your summoners, wasting your ultimate.
I think the argument that, the counter argument you'll probably get from that is, though, you've spent a lot of gold on it.
Right. And
you just give up the lane, because instead of buying a BF sword, you bought a Quicksilver Sash.
That is fair. I think, though, that's where it kind of depends on champion and itemization. Yeah. Like, for Ezreal, I don't see it as a massive problem because, well, for a start, surprisingly, to some extent, he's ahead. And secondly, Ezreal never really is one of those champions that's like, I'm going to dominate every single lane.
And he's got the tier first. So having the tier means that he's already stacking up. He's already developing that late game threat, which he will turn into when he gets that 4-item, 3-item spike. Now, QSS next. It's fine, you know, he doesn't need to be the damage source. You've got the Syndra, you've got the Rengar for that. Even the Nautilus, to some degree, early game with the Riptide does a lot of work.
And that's the problem, is whoever Spratl goes on, as they go on the mid lane, they're going to have a lot of protection from this Lulu as well. There's going to be stuns coming out from Cosq, and Pride Stalker is going to be able to output massive damage as well. So Spratl has to find very select targets out on their own, and that becomes very difficult.
That's partly why I'd like to have seen the Talia instead of the Corki as well. Perhaps not as easy to play into the Syndra matchup, but the ability to isolate someone with the Weaver's Wall or isolate a couple of members with the Weaver's Wall really seems to work well for me. Sputter has to flash away as he was getting collapsed upon pretty quickly.
And Misfits even banned it in Game 1 of the series. It was available now in Game 2, I believe.
That it was. We're going to just see a slowish early game from both these teams. Misfits have been a team that have reveled in the late game, some of the longest game times amongst all of the teams here in EU Challenger Series. PSG as well, happy to take the early game slow. They're on a ward. Yeah, Kairei is here. He's going to use the blast cone. They'll knock themselves away, but
Rengar's gone with him.
Will join them. Spraddle low, exhaust down. Here's the Ezreal. Yuki gets the kill. And now they'll look towards the Dragon as well. They have to be very cautious here because Pilot's going to open up the big gun. Try and whisper his way to a kill on Yuki. Dreams will get onto him. Pridestalker's backing. And PSG will just take the one kill.
Good kill for Misfits, punishing PSG. Spraddle and Kairei were stood on a ward on the enemy red buff with no sight on KozQ, no sight really on Dreams and Pridestalker, just trying to go aggressive for the sake of being aggressive, trying to steal away the buff.
You can understand what they're thinking though, because there's a blast cone there. If Pridestalker hadn't jumped onto it, then they would have got out safe and sound. I mean, maybe there would have been a concerted effort to catch them, but still, it's over-aggression that didn't need to happen and not understanding where the enemy could be at any given point of time.
KozQ, there's the literal handover of the blue buff. There's Kairei looking to go aggressive, but doesn't really feel confident. They don't know where Pridestalker is. Of course, Pridestalker can pretty much appear from a mile away on this Rengar.
They have already burnt KozQ's flash as well, so it makes sense to put some focus on the mid lane. While the game's a little bit slow, I'm going to give you my bit of trivia about Syndra.
Okay.
If as Syndra, you pick up red buff and throw it onto an enemy, it applies the red buff debuff.
Okay.
Even if it doesn't kill the red buff.
Okay, does throwing blue buff at them give them mana back?
I hope not. Well, no, but it doesn't give them health. It gives them the true damage over time, or the tick damage.
Do you want some Syndra trivia that was actually put into the game?
Oh, yeah, do it.
So, not that that's not in the game. It used to be that if you picked up a wolf and you dragged it far enough and then smited it as a jungler, you used to get the wolf spirit on the enemy side. Spraddle, speaking about enemy sides, might be caught.
There's a wolf on the hunt. Pridestalker takes down Spraddle. The TP came in as well, and we actually saw KozQ caught out on the rotation. TP's going to join the fight. Here's Steve. Pilot doing a lot of work as well. Dreams cut off towards the side. He's down, and PSG are able to collapse. Pilot opens up the guns, looking for Yuki. Blanc caught with the bolo, and Misfits will lose an extra man, but keep themselves alive and keep the turret alive as well.
I want to see the pathing from KozQ down to that fight on the bot side, because it punished Misfits Academy there for some greedy pathing. PSG turned that one around and actually come out ahead from it. It looked pretty rough for them. Spraddle got caught out. So what happened with KozQ here? He walks right over a ward, into Rek'Sai and Corki. Fairly straightforward.
And Steve teleports in.
Yep. Couldn't really do too much more than this. Dreams was the one that gets picked off. Blanc and Kairei actually did all the work. Did all the work on this.
Yuki did QSS the root from the Twisted Advance, so was able to keep himself alive. Pridestalker, however, he's been rooted up. No QSS for him, and no Dreams for Dreams as well. He'll fall.
Just like that, PSG have turned this game around, picking up multiple kills now on the bottom side of the map. We saw them trying to make a play onto the red buff earlier, and it punished them. Misfits Academy this time play right into their hands, and PSG are in a tough spot.
PSG getting towards that 20-minute mark, need their 1,000 gold lead. And they've got it at the moment, about 1,200 ahead. Now it's going to accelerate because they're going to get the first tower. So that will push themselves even further. And PSG, their early games come online once again.
And this was how this fight started. We didn't quite catch the beginning of it while we were in the replay, but Pridestalker getting picked off by Spraddle. And then it's an easy second kill onto the Lulu.
Using Kairei really well there on the Rek'Sai as well, understanding the tremor sense, being able to spot people out as they walk around. And just good catches here from PSG. They set up vision well, and they were able to work out exactly where Misfits would be. And again, like, you can assume that PSG had backed, but they could quite easily have set up another bush there.
Yeah,
they came around.
They could have. Pridestalker may have to start using that ultimate sometimes just to check.
Yeah.
Get a little bit of vision. I mean, it's not the best use, but if you're that afraid, it's not the longest cooldown ultimate in the game. It's just over 100 seconds at current rank.
About the same length as Pilot's ultimate.
Yeah.
In fact, it might be exactly the same.
That's 4 seconds
Oh,
different.
force.
Close. Close.
So close.
But, yeah, curtain call, 108 seconds.
Sprattle's been on point with his nether grasps, even though he has, well, with the one we've seen, even though he's died twice. The only person on his team to die. And that's what you tend to see a lot. When you've got these supports that have big game-changing ultimates or have a lot of impact, like Karma, they tend to be the ones that you see focused down first in a fight.
It's like old anyway. You're just trying to flash in. You're like, I did my job.
Flash tip is returned.
Got him. Same with Sprattle now on Malzahar. Gets the nether grasp on people. That basically spells the end for them. PSG with a good push onto the tower now. They had shipped down Yuki, and now the tower goes down in exchange. Good push. Again, decent early game. It was a little slow this game, but it's still solid early game from PSG. They need to maintain this the later they go on in the game.
They take 2 towers and can look towards top. Also, Cloud Drake available for them if they want it. They're going to start it up. It does reset slightly, but the Voidlings will help them out, and that's a Drake in favor of PSG, and Mountain next on the cards as well. So they can start that Dragon Ball rolling.
They got to collect all of them. Yeah. That's about all I've got. Didn't watch Dragon Ball.
Yeah, nor have I.
Okay,
I only realized it as I said it.
Good,
like,
we can both bail out of this.
Please don't do Dragon Ball puns, because I'll giggle. I'll just like fake laugh. It's like, oh yeah, good joke.
Pulse somewhere is.
Oh mate, he'll be crying.
Yeah. It's Misfits Academy, not quite crying from this game. They had a tier earlier, not quite fully stacked.
After that first game, I'm pretty sure there's some PSG fans who let out a single solitary tear. However, looking good again in this early game. This game, I feel like I say that for every PSG game.
It's so frustrating to say that when you're like, hey, it's a good early game, and then I don't know. It feels bad to say, but the impending tension, the tense moment right now is, will PSG do the same again?
But it's the idea of doing the same thing time and time again and expecting a different result from it. So what PSG are great at doing is their early game. They get a couple of towers, get a lead, and then mid-game they're just like, okay, we'll just deny vision, we'll go for Baron. And they started off doing that pretty well, but they kept doing it for 15 minutes.
Yep.
And then eventually just all it takes is one person to miss position, and at that point in the game you can't salvage a 4v5. And they got caught out. Now PSG this time, I think there's more of a risk of mispositioning with this composition because Sprattle's going to be looking for aggressive positioning. Pilot as well, very low mobility on this Jhin, likely to get caught out. We've seen it happen before. Steve, however, is their stalwart hope in my opinion. He's the one who needs to be jumping on towards that backline. We've seen Maokai's do a lot of work, and if he can get there, perhaps he'll be able to carry this team on his back. Yeah,
if they can get that positioning, PSG looking to close in on Dreams.
Dreams exhausted, wild growth, here's Yuki, Kairi coming in from the side as well. Dreams escapes, Blanc being knocked up, the rest of PSG looking for the collapse. Prize Sorka, the thrill of the hunt. Steve locks up Jisoo, the curtains are opened as Jisoo takes 1-2 shots. Pilot tries to reposition, can't get the angles. And PSG take down 1.
Pridestalk was looking maybe to hop over the wall and catch up Pilot.
The unleashed power! Only needed about 2 of the orbs. Coscu snipes away Sprattle.
Sprattle tried to flash away instead of exhausting through it. Don't know whether he was in range for the exhaust, but certainly Coscu was in range to take out the kill.
Coscu has no flash, he just went for the support. Blank's tanking the turret though, just about survives with the heal. They take down 1 and Kairi and Steve will chase away the rest of Misfits. Turret going lower, PSG take it, Steve still that front line, there's the deadly flourish. They get onto Yuki, they get onto Dreams, and they get 2 kills so quickly.
Surely that's the opening PSG needed here to look potentially. Will they go for the Baron?
No.
The Honey Fruit is there if they want to heal up, but no. Jisoo still has teleport available. PSG clearly having flashbacks to the last series they played against Schalke. This was how the fight started. Blanc just completely wipes Dream's health bar out. Of course, Trinity Force proc off that auto, plus a bunch of damage coming from his spells. It was a good start to the fight from PSG, and they do end the fight very well as well. Jisoo gets taken out. I wonder, was Sprattle in range for exhaust here instead of flashing? Yes, he was. Yeah. I mean, instinct is flash away, Wasn't expecting to die from just the ult.
I love the reaction from PSG because they're like, Coscu doesn't have flash. It's just flash on by Steve, straight in.
And that's Coscu really disrespecting PSG in this Maokai, thinking more like they're in the last game where they didn't have the ability to do that and get right on top of anybody. Double knockup, beautiful out of Kirei. And PSG turn and just make sure that they can gather themselves. They're in another great spot.
That they are, Stress. That they are.
Smile you just gave me of you've cursed it again.
It happens from time to time, but I totally agree. Getting towers is great for them. They open up the map a lot more. The worry for me is when you open up the map, you give Pride Stalker a little bit more space to work with.
Oh, Coscu.
Coscu might get caught out by Kirei. He's trying to back away. The dodge of the Scatter of the Weak. He's going to get knocked up. His Dream's Deadly Flourish not going to connect. The Curtain Call comes down. Dream's going to try and tank this. Tanks up a couple of shots, but the third one will take him down. Coscu escapes. Pride Stalker looking for the Jhin with Jisoo TPing in as well. This Thrill of the Hunt could be exactly what Misfits Academy need. Pride Stalker jumps in, exhaust straight away. Hook onto Kirei. Pride Stalker's low. Here's the true shot barrage. Pilot taken down to half as well. Yuki joins the fray. Steve didn't have teleport, so never was able to get in this fight.
PSG do get one kill again, and they're slowly edging their lead forward. Bot lane got pushed out. Mid lane gets pushed out. That denies Misfits from taking anything in response. Nice line cut by Kirei here. Knows as soon as he starts the Scatter of the Weak, he can get in. Blocks some of the potential for Coscu to get locked down again, but that's okay, as they take out Dreams to end that fight really before it's ever begun, and then Pride Stalker absorbs an exhaust, jumping in here. Don't think he really would have been able to get onto Sprattle properly there through the passive, but that is a summoner now used. Sprattle doesn't have exhaust available.
Pride Stalker has been a little bit absent in this game thus far. Hasn't really had the impact on the Rengar he would have liked, I'm sure. Has been involved in, 66% of his team's kills, but when you've only got 3, it's not really the biggest thing in the world. Much would have preferred to get some early ganks off, especially down towards that bottom lane, but just didn't quite align for them this time. It's all aligned for PSG, 6,000 gold ahead, only 23 minutes in. That's 5,000 gold. And once again, their early game has looked pretty darn good.
It has. Mountain Drake now spawns, should assist PSG with any potential future Barons. Some fallback pings, a lot of them just went down from Misfits Academy on the lower side jungle. They don't really want to run in there, potentially headlong into the Paris Saint-Germain squad.
Well, PSG have shown us that they can set up good vision control and do these bushes where you're just laying in wait for the enemy. And that's what Misfits Academy want to avoid. They now do need to get some vision around the Baron themselves to make sure that PSG can't just sneak it away. You've got Corki, you've got Jhin, you've got Voidlings as well, so you will melt through that relatively quickly.
Iceborne Gauntlet did just get completed though for Yuki. Important point where now PSG kind of have to fight just a little harder to collapse. Can get kited easier. I feel like we're in for a longer game here.
What makes you say that, Stress? Is it the fact that PSG are playing Misfits Academy? Or is it the fact that we're 25 minutes in and we've yet to see a tier 2 fall?
Yeah, it's mostly that. We've still got one outer tower for Misfits Academy. PSG still have all 3 of theirs. Which means Baron power play would be huge,
it'd be huge.
If we
like
had that on Challenger.
10,000 gold Baron power play, probably. But yes, Void Staff completed on Coscu as well. He's going Haunting, guys. We've got the Black Cleaver on Pride Stalker. 2 items finished on the Jhin with that Infinity Edge Yumus. So going more for the sustained damage rather than that lethality, although he has got a Serrated Dirk as well.
Yeah. Now, a lot of people coming into the split were umming and ahhing about Misfits Academy, figuring out where to place them. Obviously, Misfits, the former Challenger team, now LCS team, doing very well for themselves. Yeah. Sat at second in Group A. I mean, Misfits will be looking for a repeat performance where the team just goes right up into LCS again, but the field is so tough. Whether it's Schalke, whether it's, I guess Fnatic Academy in week 1, unfortunately. Millennium looking pretty decent.
Penguin at times are looking really good as well.
And PSG, they have no wins, but have looked at times like one of the most convincing teams. So Misfits Academy just kind of slot somewhere into the middle of the pack. And I still am not super convinced, because stuff like this happens when Koskyu is caught out on his own.
Yeah, there's another grass. His Price Stalker as well. Pilot's low, so's Blank. Koskyu taken down. The Unleashed Power comes out, but here's Steve on the back line. The curtains have opened and they've fallen straight onto Dream's head. Gets taken out. Koskyu sniped as well. PSG collapse. Here's Jisoo. He's all by himself. Right into the midst of the team. He's going to get chased away. Might have to try and flash the wall. PSG leave him for the time being, and I think they're turning their eyes towards Baron here, Stress.
They're turning for Baron. PSG, they're a little low, but they have a full health Maokai that can tank this up. And no Smite, no True Shot Barrage. Look at how quickly that's dying. Yeah. That is a successful Baron.
Well done, PSG. They secure the Baron. I think that might be the first Baron they've secured in Challenger Series. I might be wrong on that, so don't quote me on it. But look at the engage here, because Koskyu gets caught out.
Koskyu caught out, but he survives, because look at the presence of Pride Stalker and Dreams coming right through the fight onto Pilot, and they were able to keep him alive. Blank dropped very low as well, finally got that kill for themselves. And there was a distraction in the name, in the form of Nautilus, that they just leave him be, move out for the Baron, and maybe that's what PSG needed with this Baron buff. They're looking for this inner tower. See if they can get it.
They're now 8,000 gold ahead as well. Look for the
there's no TP for Steve.
With the flank, no TP for Steve. Jisoo trying to get on towards Blank. That's the target. Kairi knocks him up though. Deadly Flourish onto Koskyu. Jisoo in the front line. Now Kairi taken low with the Unleashed Power. Steve's on his way. He wants to save the day for PSG as they look for the re-engage. Misfits realize their engage did not work. Now retreat. Kairi is going to go back to base, but has got the Void Rush to get right back in here.
It was a nice attempt, a good thought process from Misfits, trying to punish them while there was no teleport for PSG, but PSG now push in for this inner turret.
They take them so quickly with the Sheen Procs, with the fourth attack from Pilot. Whisper just singing a song to the turrets as they fall one by one. They'll take the inhibitor down as well, and PSG have cracked the base of Misfits. Jisoo trying to get the flank, Nethergrass down. Jisoo will just about fall to Steve. The curtains open once again as Pride Stalker takes a shot, just forcing Misfits Academy away from the engage.
And this, surely this is the lead that PSG have been looking for now 3 weeks. PSG finally, with a Baron buff, with an inhibitor down, looking to push through the top side. Koskyu, hang on to PSG, looking for
Deadly Flourish lands. Koskyu goes down. PSG take him out. They'll take the inhibitor tower as well as the inhibitor as well. They've got 2 inhibitors down. They've got Baron buff. They've got minions. Have they got the game? They're looking for the Nexus towers. 1 will be started. Pride Stalker pops the thrill of the hunt, but there's not much he can do. The second Nexus tower goes down, and PSG, at the 6th time of asking, take a game.
Finally, PSG get their first win. I thought that was going to be a longer game because of how slow and delayed it was, but Misfits Academy kept running into PSG. A couple of missed positions leads to a Baron, leads to inhibitors, leads to the game, and finally PSG live up to a modicum of the hype.
But if they just did that in the 5 previous games, it would have been fine. I like the fact that they've improved. I think if they do that next week and they continue to improve, they can still maybe get a shot in the playoffs. Misfits Academy, that second game, Pride Stalker really didn't have the impact that we expected him to on the Rengar. Koskyu kept overextending as well and getting caught out. So that's the reason they're not a top 2 team for me. It's just a little bit sloppy in the mid game, and sometimes their early game is a little bit weak as well.
Yeah, Koskyu and Dreams kept getting caught out, and PSG, this time they had the engage potential. They had the siege, the engage, they had the damage, and that was what was a difference maker between games 1 and 2. You look at this series, you look at last week's series, just a couple of decisions here and there, and realistically, maybe in an alternate universe, PSG sat with Schalke at the top, but they're not, because they lost those games off mistakes, but finally they pick up a point. They're not on 0 points anymore. They're on 1 point in the bottom.
Yeah, still at the bottom of the table, though. And still a long way to climb if they're going to be able to get up there and get into the playoff spots. We've had some good action today, Stress, haven't we? I've really enjoyed some of the games. They've been slightly longer But still,
some of them, yeah.
still pretty good fun. Let's have a look at how the teams do stand at the end of week 3, over the halfway point in the European Challenger Series. Schalke still in that top spot with 9 points, and then we have a 3-way tie for second place with Millennium, Misfits Academy, and Team Kinguin all on 4 points. Fnatic Academy have 3, and PSG sitting alone at the bottom with that solitary 1 point.
But it might be enough. That 1 point, if they win every match. No, well, okay. Today, Schalke reaffirmed that they're the top team, unequivocally. We've seen the middle of the table teams kind of showing their similar levels.
They're the middle of the table
teams.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. And PSG pick up a point for themselves. So there's a lot of back and forth on today's games.
In all honesty, it looks very much like Schalke, and then the rest underneath them, and any one of those 5 teams can get to the playoffs. It's just about how well they play. PSG still have the opportunity, but that's it from us for now. We'll be back next week with more Challenger action. Misfits Academy take on Fnatic Academy, PSG play Kinguin, and Schalke 04 take on Millennium.
Really important to note that despite the EU LCS being on break, EU Challenger will continue next Sunday. We will not be taking a break for IEM. So as you said, these are the matchups coming your way in just 1 week.
Yep, I'm looking forward to them indeed, but it's time for us to close the client on the European Challenger Series. From all of us here on the broadcast, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Same time, same channel. Good night. Now Selfie's on the wrong side, Dan chasing him in, the Realm Warp. Nisqy tries to get away, he can't escape from the fangs of Lulex. Selfie dies, it's a 2-for-1 trade, a 3-for-1 trade, as Lulex gets a double. Fnatic are just hiding behind their Nexus, they cannot fight against this Schalke lineup. Selfie knocks it away, another devour by Vanta to keep him alive. This will be the Nexus, and this will be Schalke going 1-0 up over Fnatic Academy.
Yeah, play as a team. We've seen that in the LCS.
This is what? Desperate Dan gets demolished by Selfie.
Got annihilated. Pinoy could be in trouble.
He's overextended here, even with Norscaven. I'm not sure he survives. Tabasco takes him down, and now Norscaven finds him in the midst of 3. Kinguin going for the dive, going for the kill. Tabasco gets a double. They'll take down the Nexus, and Millennium will go 1-0 up over Team Kinguin. If you paint along with Bob Ross and you do everything he says, at the end of it, you can get a great painting.
Okay.
Trying to catch someone out, Tabasco cocoons him.
Oh, they call Woolite!
Woolite's dead, Norscaven gets him. However, Pretty's fallen in response. Pinoy gets jumped on by Ice Beast, so Mimic in the backline trying to do what he can, but Kinguin collapses onto him. Sebex chucks down the hammer and Mimic has to flash away. But Kinguin will take down the Nexus Towers and they'll take the win and even out the series against Millennium. Gothi tries to flash away, but the rest of PSG are waiting just around the bed. They've left him because they want Pridestalker. Instead, PSG leave the kill on the Lulu. The equalizer comes down. Pridestalker's going to escape. The curtains open. Jisoo flashes across the wall and somehow survives as well. No! The missile from downtown gets the kill. And there's the knock-up onto Pilot once again. Realm Warp in. Pridestalker Assassination Squad takes down Pilot. They're gonna get the double. Pridestalker's on a rampage. He is undefeatable. Kozku will take out Steve. Kairi will get locked up. Jisoo swings the anchor and swings the dagger into the hearts of PSG as they lose the fight, and they're gonna lose the game. Welcome back to the European Challenger Series for Game 2 between Misfits Academy and Paris Saint-Germain. I am Aaron Medic. This is James Tresalura. That was the Macarena. Here's the unleashed power. Only needed about 2 of the orbs. Kozku snipes away Spras. They get onto Yuki, they get onto Dreams, and they get 2 kills so quickly. Will be started. Pridestalker pops the thrill of the hunt, but there's not much he can do. The second Nexus Tower goes down, and PSG at the 6th time of asking take a game